This is The Space Shot, episode 127 for September 18th, 2017. Vanguard 3 and a Saturn 1 test launch. Hey everyone, welcome to The Space Shot, your daily space history, pop culture, and news fix. I'm John Molnix. We're going to start off the podcast today with some news. This morning, Northrop Grumman announced that it is buying Orbital ATK in a $7.8 billion cash plus acquisition of debt deal. I'm linking to some articles on the acquisition in the show notes, so if you'd like to know more on it, check those out. This was just announced at the time of recording this episode, so when there's more information, I'll be sure to pass it on. Now for some space history. On September 19, 1959, the Vanguard 3 satellite was launched from Cape Canaveral. This Earth and space science satellite only weighed about 50 pounds, but it still had instruments that allowed it to study Earth's magnetic field, radiation in the upper atmosphere, atmospheric drag, radio experiments, and micrometeoroid detection. Vanguard 3 helped by defining, quote, the lower edge of the Van Allen radiation belt. The existence of this belt had just been confirmed a few years prior. The mission lasted 85 days, and communication with the small satellite stopped when the batteries on board were depleted. The spacecraft also had to store information when it was orbiting away from ground stations, and to accomplish this, it had a tape recorder set up that allowed it to play back data once it was in communication again with the ground. 5 years after the Vanguard 3 satellite launch, NASA was making impressive strides in booster and space technology. On September 18, 1964, NASA tested the launch escape system for the Apollo command module launched on a Saturn 1 rocket. This test saw the launch escape system propel itself away from the command module, simulating the process that would be used on flights that carried human passengers. The Saturn 1 was an unusual-looking launch vehicle, with its first stage of clustered tanks and a prodigious setup of 8 fins for stability and control. A Saturn 1B, a derivative of the Saturn 1, is visible at Kennedy Space Center, and I'll be sharing a panorama of that rocket that I took during my last visit to Kennedy Space Center. Last night's episode of The Orville was fun to watch. I'm hoping that the series continues to be enjoyable, and most importantly, because it's changing time slots, that it keeps up its popularity. Check out the show notes for more information on today's episode, and be sure to connect with me on Instagram and Twitter. Find me at John Molnix. I'm always up to chat. Let me know what you think of the show by leaving a rating in iTunes. It takes just a minute to do that, and it makes a huge difference because it helps even more people find the show. I'd also appreciate if you could share the Space Shot with your friends and family, and anyone else that enjoys podcasts. Tomorrow, the Manned Spacecraft Center. I'm John Molnix, and I'll catch you on the flip side.